The one thing that hierarchy does well is it is legible. So people know where they stand, they know where they sit. So what we need to do is have better mapping and better information about how things fit together. And so that connective role is something that leaders can do very well because of their position looking across the whole organization. So leaders need to be leaders, not managers. They need to be connectors, not dictators. And they need to be organizational architects.
Hi, good morning. We have the pleasure of welcoming Bryant to our interview series. Let's begin with a quick intro of Engati. Engati is the world's leading multilingual no-code chatbot platform available across 14 channels with 25,000 bots created across 186 countries in every domain and use case. Engati has also been recognized as a top platform by INC.com, TechWorld, CIO, and many others. We run the Engati blog, video channel, and the CX podcast, receiving upwards of 300,000 visitors annually. And now for our guest, Bryant. He is passionate about using social technology to put humans front and center the way we do things in the 21st century. He believes that social network, not bureaucracies, are the organizing principles of the current era. He co-founded Headshift in 2002 to investigate new use cases for social software inside companies and organizations, which become a leading international social business consultancy and now acquired by Dakis Group in 2009. Lee is now exploring new forms of organizational design and the future of firm enabled by new technology at Shift-based research and post-shift. But before we get inside scoop from Lee himself, here's a quick announcement. We have something special for all of you. So stick around till the end of the interview. Hi, Lee. So moving on to the first question. Everyone is now jumping into digital transformations. How would you advise organizations to go about planning for their digital journeys? Which functions would you start on first?
So that's a good question. I think in our experience, you need to think about different domains of activity and also different levels of activity. So I think it's a mistake to jump straight to building shiny new apps on the outside of the company if the inside of the company is not operating in a connected and a smart way. So we would advise companies to begin with what we call digital optimization. So using digital workplace tools internally with all functions of the organization and doing the work they already do better, more efficiently, and in a more connected way. And then that creates a base for digital transformation, which is actually changing the way you work in order to take advantage of the affordances of digital technologies. So automation, standardization, smart systems and so on. And then if you create a good base of business capabilities in this way, then you can do the most exciting digital innovation with your customers. So it's important to not only focus on the outside and also not only focus on the inside, because the best customer experience comes from the best employee experience and vice versa. So I think this is why some companies find it challenging, is you need to operate across all of these domains, and you need to focus on not just the technology, but how this impacts structure, culture, process, practice, and leadership as well.
Yeah, that does make sense. So moving on to the second question, how crucial is the role of AI in digital transformations?
I think it's very important. I would say that only a minority of companies have really grasped this today. So where we are right now is that a transitional technology like RPA, robot process automation, is really the dominant choice for many organizations. And what that means is taking badly designed old enterprise systems and helping us sort of fill in the forms quicker. So it's not really the most exciting technology category, but I think that's only a bridge to real automation. And once you have, some automated services and systems, once you have connected data across the organization, then it's possible to really do machine learning and also eventually some form of AI. But AI is a bit like, blockchain, or it's a bit like the word sustainability. it's widely used, but not actually properly implemented in a meaningful way as yet. But I do think it's going to be very important. I think the key thing to recognize with AI is that the goal is not replacing humans. I don't think that's necessary or possible. I think many areas of business still need the human touch. They need human creativity, ingenuity, and decision making. But what we can do is we can automate all of the really boring stuff that right now is done in bureaucracies, including a lot of management, I have to say. And then we can augment the sort of natural human intelligence of the employees we have in the organization, so that we can give them more creative roles and we can get more value out of them. So I think that's the relationship that I think will eventually develop.
Okay. Okay, moving on to the third question. What role will social technologies play in our digital transformations?
I think they're very important. And I think the reason they're very important is that the management technology that we have inherited in our organizations is extremely outdated. So we are working with essentially 19th century United States management theory, updated with the early days of mainframes and all the rest of it. But the problem is that we don't need any of that. So we don't need management hierarchy. We don't need a big bureaucracy in order to coordinate work. We have enough technology around today that we can coordinate data, we can share communications, and we can coordinate work outputs. So probably the biggest win for organizations is transitioning away from sort of bureaucratic management and towards more automated and smart systems for coordinating the workplace. The problem is we've all grown up obsessed with this formal structure of the org chart, and where we sit in the org chart. So we have lots of meetings and we sit around and try and work out who's most important, and we eat some biscuits and all this sort of workplace theater that people get involved in. But really, the real work of business, if you're in a startup or you're in a technology firm, you realize that it's nothing to do with any of these things. In fact, what we need to strengthen the informal structures of the organization. So we need the networks, we need the communities of practice, we need the small groups and agile teams. They need to be the building blocks of the digital organization. And so at the moment, it's really only the social technologies in the organization that enable us to do that. And so I think that's why social technologies right now are quite important, because they provide a viable alternative to management by middle-aged man walking around wearing a suit, which is a very low-tech way of doing business.
Okay, so the fourth question would be, what role does leadership play in ensuring that the digital transformation is smooth and the entire organization accepts it?
This is a multifaceted challenge because in the first place, leaders need to exemplify the transformation and the changing culture that they want to see. They need to give it approval. They need to say that this is important and this is something you should focus on. But then I think they need to also step back and give up some control, give up some decision making to the rest of the organization, because no leader today can be an expert in the full stack of business, all the way from Python and R coding for machine learning, all the way down to sort of precision engineering, production, and all these other things. Leaders' job is to set the context and to create the systems in which people can excel and do their best work. The leader's job is not to make all the decisions, and I think that's something that they struggle with, because that's how they've grown up. So I think that's one aspect of the challenge. I think the other aspect of the challenge is that the one thing that hierarchy does well is it is legible. So people know where they stand, they know where they sit. So what we need to do is have better mapping and better information about how things fit together. And so that connective role is something that leaders can do very well because of their position looking across the whole organization. So leaders need to be leaders, not managers. They need to be connectors, not dictators. And they need to be organizational architects. So they need to help redesign the fabric of the organization so that digital transformation can work.
That's really insightful. So I think those are the only questions that we had. So thank you so much for giving us your time. Your insights were really valuable. And I know our audience is really going to enjoy this interview. So if you stuck around for this long, we are so excited to announce that our ebook, The Evolution of Customer Experience, is out and available for download. Check the link in the description below for more details. We'll be back with a new episode with a brand new expert soon. So stay tuned and we'll see you around for the next one.